Hey everyone, it's Kevin Jones with Life, Mind, and Money. And today we're going to be talking about a budget. Oh geez, he used the word. I know, a budget seems in our society is like a bad word. But reality is that a budget is actually telling your money on where it needs to go. Because if you don't have a budget, I can guarantee you that you are losing money and you don't even realize it. So I want to make sure that you get on a plan so that your money is going exactly where you want it to go. So let's get started. If you haven't done so, please smash that like button as we appreciate all your support against the YouTube algorithm. So with that, let's begin. Now I'll fully admit, when I went beginning my financial journey, I didn't have a budget at all, and that is why I fell deeply into debt, as I've already outlined. And it was not until we actually started to really turn that corner in my early 30s, we actually put a budget in place and really started to monitor where our money is going and where it really should be going, so that we're actually not only just trying to tackle our own debt and get out of it, but also making sure that we have money for investments and other fun things that we want to do in our lives. Before, we were just swiping credit cards and putting in basically in a miscellaneous category, and that's where a lot of our money went because honestly we had no idea where it was going. That's why a budget is so important to any household. You want to make sure your money is actually going to a place that you actually direct it to go. Because if not, money just kind of seems to have a mind of its own and literally will just kind of scurry off the page out into no man's land, and you'll never see it again. I'll admit that budgets are not easy to start up front. You're going to have to dig up a lot of old statements to actually understand exactly what have you been spending over the last few months to kind of get a hold of where you currently sit. That's why, got to put the energy in front, and then budgets get easier as time goes over because you'll now understand exactly where your money is going month over month. Now, if you don't believe me that your money will just kind of just wander off, think about when you're in a grocery store and you've got everything you had on your list. Now you go all the way up to the cashier to check out. Now, grocery stores are smart because they're lined with all those magazines and that gum and the candy, all these little things that absolutely were not on our list. But the grocery store is trying to get you to be an impulse buyer and just kind of throw those in the cart at the last second. Now tell me, was that on your budget? Was that on your list? Of course not. And while these things may only be about $1, they start adding up very quickly. And think about all the other things you may be buying outside a grocery store that at the last minute I just kind of threw it in. You can see that if you really don't pay attention to what you're buying and tracking it against how much you actually set to put in your budget, that money will go bye-bye very quickly and it will never come back to you. Now, while I said one little purchase won't make that big of a difference, but over time it accumulates, and you start thinking about the accumulation, it goes from $1 into hundreds into thousands very quickly. And that is money that you have lost to be able to save or invest. And those are the things that will make you financially independent. It doesn't take much to grow money, but if it's not there at hand, you'll never be able to do it in the first place. That's why you got to control your expenses through a budget. I'm going to walk you exactly how to tackle that in a step-by-step plan so that you make sure that you're on a plan for financial success. So let's dive in some key tips on building your first budget. I recognize that it's going to take a lot of effort up front, but it is well worth it. So let's dive in. So the first step is making sure that we list out every expense that we made in the last month. And when I say every, I mean every single expense, even if it's only $1. And what I want you to do is that list them all out and then put exactly how much you spent on each one of those expenses. And let's do this either on a piece of paper or an Excel sheet, or any program that you found that will help you work through this process. Now that we have all our expenses laid out, the second step I want you to make is actually put all of these expenses into natural buckets. So when I say natural buckets, maybe these are utility bills, or maybe these are food bills. You can see they're just natural things that and we're doing this so that we have a better organization about how we're actually spending our money. Now that we have everything in the buckets, the third step I want you to make is actually look at each bucket and start totaling them all up so that we can get a grand total at the bottom of how much we're actually spending each month. Now that we have a grand total of all our expenses and how much we spent in each bucket, the fourth thing you're going to want to do is actually now take that grand total and figure out exactly how much money you've got coming in and compare the two. So when we think about how much money is coming in, this is on the other side of your budget. Think about, are you receiving a paycheck? Do you have investments? Do you have passive income? Any income that you have on a regular monthly basis, put that in your budget and total that up. And those are the two numbers that you want to compare against. If you realize that your expense column is larger than your income column, you may realize that you have a bit of a problem here, because that means that you're spending more than you actually have coming in. And that's why a budget is so important, for you to recognize this and start making adjustments so that at least it balances out so that you're not losing money in the process. As we spoke in the beginning, you don't want your money simply flying away. You want it to be in control of it. That's why we put these things on paper, to give us realization about what's actually happening. The fifth thing in your budget tips here today is that you want to make sure that your budget actually zeroes out. So it doesn't matter if you've got too much on the expense side or too much on the income side, which we all would like to have. But the reality is that we want to make sure it zeroes out, because we want every dollar to have a name. We want it to go somewhere. So even if we have excess cash somewhere, then let's assign the rest of it to maybe savings or some kind of investment. We're actually going to put it somewhere and put it to use. So when we balance these things out, we want it to be zero when you subtract the two. So when you've got income on one side and you've got expenses on the other, at the end of the day, it should be zero. The sixth tip of building your first budget is knowing that your first budget will be a little ugly. Let's just face it. There's a lot of moving parts here, and you're trying to get a grip or an understanding about what's happening. So just keep in mind that you're going to have to massage that budget over the next few months until you kind of get a grip on exactly how your money's coming in and how it's going out, so that you know exactly how much you really should be allocating to each category of what you'll be spending, and really try to stick to it. That's the key here, is kind of stick to your plan, but recognize you're going to have to make adjustments. But also recognize that, back to step 5, is that even when you massage it, make sure that whatever's coming in, it's equal to what's going out, and that it zeroes out at the end of the day. And my last tip, number 7, is that really keep things pretty simple. And that also means just keeping your categories pretty simple. Don't dive in the weeds of how much that I'm going to spend $25.27 on my eating out in fast food. That's ridiculous. Let's just create a food category, and let's just create a utilities category. And you can get on and on about where our money needs to go. So keep it simple so you can keep it better organized and actually have a better understanding of your total budget. My last comment regarding putting your first budget together is that if you are single, then work through these steps. But if you have a significant other, a spouse, whatever it may be, some partner in this venture, that make sure that the two of you are completely on the same page. It is so important, because you two are working together to solve this problem. So if you're going to make an adjustment to some category, make sure that the both of you agree to it before you do it, because you want to be both working to the same goals. If not, somebody may make a purchase and the other person didn't agree with it, and it's going to throw your budget completely out of whack. And I don't want to see that happen. So just make sure that when you're developing this plan, do it together and make sure that you each have the same plan in mind. There are plenty of budgeting tools out there on the web, and especially free ones. But the important part here is that make sure that you use a tool that you're willing to come back to and not leave it to the side, even if it is simply like a Microsoft Excel sheet. Find something that you're comfortable with, that you'll be willing to work with over and over. In Life, Mind, and Money today, we focus on money. Don't let your money simply just go away. Control it and put it down on paper and make a plan for where exactly when your money comes in, you know exactly where it's supposed to go out. Because if you don't, it will fly away. Thanks for watching today. If you haven't already done so, please smash that like button, as we appreciate all your support and certainly taking on the YouTube algorithm. Also, I want to hear from you, so please leave your comments below. And lastly, we would appreciate your support if you would subscribe, as we want to see this channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.